UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I am Counselor Amy Nelson, and joined with me is Head of Astrophysics, Joe Keegan. Joe, hello.
Amy, it's just you and I this week. It's very exciting. It
is a nice little intimate discussion. I'm excited.
Just a nice intimate discussion amongst friends about attacks on the mind. Easy. Yeah. So just to update you, I'm not head of astrophysics this week. I am head of leaf sweeping. I cleared all the fall leaves from the garden, and it took me forever.
I'm so jealous you get fall leaves. It's just here in the desert, and
you don't have leaves?
No, the cactus are still green.
Is it not cacti?
Well, yes.
The plural of cactus. Is it? I don't know.
It is cacti.
Is it? What's the plural of hippopotamus?
Hippopotami? Hippopotamuses? According to the Christmas song, it's hippopotamuses. Okay,
I really hope it's hippopotami, though.
Yeah.
That just sounds like a fun word, doesn't it? Yeah. Very immature.
So, hey, there have been 2 episodes of Discovery that have come out.
There have been.
Joe, loved the second episode. And I really can't remember ever watching Discovery and at the end saying, I absolutely loved it. But I loved this episode too. Absolutely. It had a beginning, a middle, an end, and still continued the story. It was almost episodic, which everyone knows that I love. And we got to see so many characters shine. I just really, really loved it. Had a good message, don't get bullied. And it was just good.
Indeed. Yes. Saru, Tilly were really strong. I like those. Ewan seemed to think that the aliens we saw in the sanctuary, in that kind of Western saloon bar, we'd seen them before. In Enterprise, maybe, but I'm not, and I honestly don't know, which was interesting. There was something that annoyed me, but it doesn't annoy me anymore, where now the element rubidium, and they were looking for rubidium, and I was like, I noticed Tilly say it, and I was like, oh, come on, she's read the script wrong, but like everybody said rubidium. So it's like, it's either a mistake in the script or it's a new element that we in the 21st century don't know about, and they've discovered something called rubidium. So it could go either way. It could be an error in the script, and they're talking about the element rubidium, which is an element that we know about. Is it not in group 2 of the periodic table, like below magnesium? I think it's over that side. Yeah, but it's either a script error and they've typed it wrong multiple times, in which case the actors have read it wrong, but correctly. No, they read it correctly, but yeah, you know what I mean. Or I just assumed that it wasn't a mistake and they've discovered a new element.
Well, and they did make it a point to say, well, there's a whole bunch of new elements in the periodic table now in the 34th century.
31st century? 31st. Yeah, I noticed Giorgio said that we're in the future now, so we're coming into a whole new elemental table.
Yeah.
She didn't call it the periodic table. She said something, and was it an elemental table, I think she said, which was interesting. Yeah, but I really loved the episode. I always look for the things that annoy me, and then I kind of put them to the side, and I just enjoy all the good bits I like. But yeah, it was just nice to see everybody. But right, spoiler alert, if like mute your audio if you've not seen it yet. But what is wrong with Detmer?
Yeah, there's something.
There's something.
You know, and it's weird because Dr. Pollard, you know, said there's no neurological damage. And then she healed the wound, the surface wound. But I'm like, there's something there. There has to be something. And so it's weird that Dr. Pollard didn't pick up that there's something wrong. Because she obviously was hearing muffled sounds. She wasn't able to focus. Like you think that would show up on some type of scan.
And everybody, like Commander Nan, noticed that there was something, kind of looked at her funny. And then Wilson Cruz, Dr. Culber, thank you. He kind of looked at her, kind of side-eyed her. It's like, there's something not quite right with you. The obvious thing is to think that Control has infiltrated her cybernetic implants in some way.
I don't think so, because it started after they crashed and she hit her head. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was the obvious thing that I could think of, but I think we're done with Control. He's been kind of blended into a pulp, hasn't he?
That was a little above and beyond gross.
It's gruesome.
You still have Leland on you.
It's not really family entertainment is it anymore. It's not good old-fashioned TNG.
So the one little tiny thing that bugged me, like you said, and I'm just putting it to the side, but when they were trying to escape from the parasitic ice, and it just didn't make sense to me why the ship would be going up and down, up and down, up and down. The thrusters would be constant, so the ship would be going up and not bouncing. And that sort of annoyed me.
See, if you look at the ice at that point, I think the ice is growing new structures, almost like arms, to push the ship back down to overcome the force of the thrusters. Because that got me, so I looked at it like properly closely, the big 55-inch TV with me kind of right up close to it, seeing what the ice were doing. And the ice, as Discovery went up the way, the ice would grow new bits, like arms, to kind of try and push it down.
Okay, so the ice was compensating for them trying to, so it was that tug of war. Okay.
Exactly, I think.
Okay.
What I did want to see is more of that sanctuary.
Yeah.
Now, they described it as kind of, I think Tilly described it as different constructs that were all joined together.
Yeah. Did she say it was hexagonal or decagonal? I can't remember. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, because it was math. And obviously that
polygonal.
Life, yes, that life had to create it. And it was this, sanctuary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I want to see it, because it just looked like a debris field as they were crashing. Mm-hmm. And then we saw Discovery fly in the distance, as if it was inside an inverted planet, like a tiny Dyson sphere. But I would like to see like a sketch or something of what they intended the whole thing to look like, because it was pretty cool. Well,
we're not here to talk about Discovery, but we just wanted to share our comments since we don't really get a chance to talk about it. So let's check the communication array to see if we have any comments from our listeners.
Logs accessed.
So our first comment is on episode 11, which was our season 3 quality check. And it's from Vera Bible via Facebook. Just finished listening to the episode. Rhea, I 100% agree with you about the ickiness of Ral in The Price. It's uncomfortable to watch, and when that episode shows up on my TV, I tend to mute those scenes. I have some serious issues with Menage a Troi, mainly the Lwaxana-Ferengi subplot. That part of the episode is extremely dark, yet not really treated that way by the show. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. Amy, you pointed out a few of the bright spots. Wesley being made ensign, Picard reciting poetry, even Riker playing chess with Ferengi. All are great scenes. Captain's Holiday is weirdly forgettable to me, but I agree with the consensus that Vash did not need to make multiple appearances on TNG. Always love hearing your thoughts on the best parts of the worst Trek. Thank you so much, Vera, for your comment. I totally agreed with Rhea as well. Ral is just like super slimy, isn't he? And just like a bit of a male chauvinist pig. It's like, he's using his empathic powers for his own nefarious purposes. And the more I think about Menage a Troi, you're right, the more it annoys me that they didn't treat that. It's almost a sexual attack, or like perform umox on me. I'm not telling you what umox is, but as if it's in some way acceptable when it can be brushed off and laughed off. No, it's a bit perverted, and it should have been dealt with a bit more as serious as it is, I think.
Yeah, I just think for the time that it came out and also how family friendly it was, they didn't want to delve into really how dark it was.
Yeah.
For fear that, children were watching and she being forced to perform sexual acts on the Ferengi.
But does that not normalize sexual acts in some way for children?
Oh, yeah.
Is that maybe why we have a problem with kind of sexual abuse and kind of attacks on women? It's a huge problem. Not that I'm not saying that it's Star Trek's fault, but it's maybe something that kind of makes people think it's okay in some way.
Yeah.
And it absolutely isn't.
Yeah. Well, Vera, thank you so much for your comment. I'm glad that you are on board with the Vosh idea of, we don't really need to see her. And Captain's Holiday is it's not my favorite, but yeah. So thank you for your comment.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
Well, today we have a topic that is brought to you by a listener, Kevin Parlagreco. So we thank Kevin and dedicate this episode to him. He says previously, on a side note, no captain had ever been through so many mind attacks as Picard. You should do an episode on that. The amount of times Picard has had to endure mental attacks and the effects it had on him. So thank you, Kevin, for a great topic. And we are going to look at the battle, Inner Light, Attached, and Sarek. So, Joe, I was thinking about this and wondering.
Sorry, Amy, can I interrupt slightly? In Rhea's absence, we have to mention, I know Rhea's mentioned it before, but she's not here, and I know she would mention it again. Kevin Parlagreco. I think last time we mentioned his name, Rhea had said that Parlagreco translates as speaks Greek. So I would like to reach out to Kevin just to confirm or deny whether or not he indeed speaks Greek. Like parla, like from the kind of, I suppose it's Latin, or I know like parler is in French is speak, or something like that. And Greco is Greek, so does he speak Greek or not? Alpha, beta, gamma. I said ABC. Really.
Well,
sorry,
Kevin, you'll have to let us know.
Please.
So, Joe, I had been thinking about this, and with those examples, I sort of see, yes, Picard has definitely been through a lot. And now, so I was thinking, have there been other captains? And I reached out to my Enterprise experts. Thank you, Kyle West, for helping me out. And Archer had Surox Katra transferred to him in the episode from Enterprise, The Forge. And I remember that. And so that would be very similar to Sarek. And then I was thinking Sisko, he might be the one that's had just as many as Picard, like his visions and him talking to the prophet / wormhole aliens.
Okay. Can I just say that I reached out to my own memory?
Okay.
and pulled some examples also with a little help from Ewan. Now that way, sometimes you can't get the episode name. Mm-hmm. I know the episode, I know everything that happened, but I just don't know what it was called. So Ewan was helpful in that sense. Sisko as well in the episode Facets, where Jadzia, or the Dak symbiont, shares out their previous lives with members of the crew, and Sisko volunteers to take the Duran memories, and Duran infamously was the murderer.
Yeah.
That was kind of hidden away in our subconscious. So.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I mean, Sisko, I think, would give Picard a run for his money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Sisko got his contact with the wormhole aliens / prophets made him really ill. They nearly lost him. He nearly died in some episodes. So, yeah, definitely in the category of mind attacks as well.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with any from the original series. I'm just not that familiar with it. So listeners, if you can think of any mind attacks on Kirk, let us know.
I honestly don't know. I've seen them all, but
yeah,
memory is not serving
and then
me
you
so
came
well.
up one for Janeway.
Where in the scientific method, where the cloaked aliens are on board, wandering around doing horrific experiments to the crew. And Janeway's got those giant spikes in her head, making her... She looks really ill. Her eyes are really kind of... She's got dark circles under her eyes. She's tired. Nothing's working. She's really irritable. She's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So it's more an attack on her brain, but it's definitely having a effect on her psyche.
Yeah. I was tempted to put Best of Both Worlds in there, but I felt like it was a different category than this episode, but that's sort of on the fringe.
See, I had thought of Chain of Command, where the Cardassian Gull Madred,
yeah.
Is it? Gull Madred tortures him, and it's a kind of a mental torture. It's kind of the four lights. It's not like an attack, like a telepathic attack on your brain. It's more, it's four lights. It's actually...
Yeah.
Do you know what? Oh, thinking about it, I can't remember how many lights there were. I don't honestly know. I feel like mind attacked myself.
So I don't know if I would put that in this category either. I think that would be more torture, which I think I would put Best of Both Worlds. But you came up with a bunch of crew members that have had mind attacks. So I'm gonna...
Yeah, there was tons of them. There were I suppose with it being science fiction, it's really easy to go with science that doesn't exist in the real world and make it up and do a storyline surrounding it. So telepathic aliens, telekinetic attacks, that kind of thing is the obvious way to go. So with that, you think of Jadzia, when Duran's memories start to surface in Equilibrium, it's not quite an attack, but she becomes mentally disturbed by playing the little tune on the little piano, and slowly but surely she has to go back to Trill to figure out what's going on wrong, and they find that the Duran memories had been suppressed in her. Tom Paris was accused of murder in ex post facto.
That one reminds me of when Riker in Frame of Mind, how he's got the mind probe and he thinks he's in the insane asylum from the alien. So that's, another example.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. But there's also that episode with Tom Paris is pretty much like the episode where Riker's accused of murder.
Matter perspective.
Yes, and they use the holodeck to recreate the instance, and it completely depends on what your perspective is, as the episode title suggests. There was I can't remember the name of the episode, but there was the Voyager episode where the crew... Was it Voyager?
I just talked about it. It was with the probe. I talked about it on All Good Things. Survivors is a TNG, but it's something like that.
There's some kind of spatial
it's a probe,
and it's sending out telepathic waves, and allowing
the war
people to
that they
come
remember.
near it. Yes, so people don't recreate the war. Was it Voyager or was it?
No, it was Voyager, because I just
Voyager.
talked about it on All Good Things, you guys. Oh my gosh, my brain. Okay, I'm gonna look for it, and you talk about the next one.
Okay, the other one, O'Brien was convicted and sentenced. He was convicted of murder, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. But the prison sentence was all transplanted memories, so he had to go back to Deep Space Nine with having lived a lifetime of imprisonment. Which, if that's not a mind attack, I don't know what is. That would definitely have a lasting effect on him. You would think of also Kess dealing with the telepathic visions from Species 8472 in the episode Scorpion, where she's seeing images of piles of dismembered Borg drones. We also see Troy in various violations of the mind in the episode Violations, and then the attack in Nemesis. Amy, did you find the name of the episode yet?
No, it's out of my files.
Is it called, I'm thinking it might be called Memorial?
Yes, Memorial. Thank you. We talked about it on All Good Things when we were talking about computer downloads. Yes, Memorial. That is it. Well done, Joe.
Very good. There's a couple of other examples when Bashir and O'Brien enter the mind of Agent Sloan from Section 31 to try and get the cure for the morphogenic virus that's affecting the changelings. And that's kind of when somebody enters your mind, I suppose we could classify that as a mind attack. Sloan's not able to say no to it because he's in a coma at that point. The episode Distant Voices in Deep Space Nine, Dr. Bashir gets attacked by a telepathic alien. And you see him on the station, and it's kind of almost deserted, but the alien's stalking him. I don't know. That's literally the extent of my knowledge on that episode. And obviously we see Kess come back to try and rip apart Voyager with her telekinetic powers. I'm sure there are a lot more examples, but that's the extent of my knowledge.
That is an amazing list that you came up with.
Thank you, Amy.
So let's talk about Picard specifically. And let's start with the battle. Now, this is a season 1 episode. I've almost thought it was season 2 because it felt like it came a little bit later, but it's season 1, episode 9. I was really surprised at how quick or how soon that was in the series.
I think a lot of TNG episodes can be really deceptive and kind of where they're placed. Like, I know we spoke about earlier about the Masterpiece Society, how it feels very early, but it's not. It's like season 5 or 6. So in the battle, do you want me to summarise this just now? Yeah, okay.
Remind our listeners what the battle is about.
So in the battle, a group of Ferengi come to the Enterprise and they present Captain Picard with the derelict remains of the Stargazer. And while they're trying to figure everything out, Captain Picard starts to very quickly kind of relive the experiences of being aboard the Stargazer as it's kind of burning in space when it was attacked by the Ferengi at the Battle of Maxia. And it turns out that the Ferengi daemon that has presented the Stargazer to him, he wants revenge on Picard, I think for the death of his son. It's been a while since I watched it. So wants revenge for the death of his son and has placed this telepathic device on the Stargazer to torment Captain Picard. But do you know what? We've got the crew of the Federation flagship, so they very quickly dispense with that bad daemon and get rid of the bad mind probe machine. So we're all good. But it's interesting. Obviously, that has a the machine has this deleterious effect on Captain Picard. He doesn't behave like himself. He's obviously reliving these really horrific experiences. But it occurs to me that with TNG and its episodic format, right at the end of the episode, everything resets back to the way it was at the beginning of the episode. So how much of we know if it was us that were to undergo that, would we be able to return to work? Would you be off sick with like permanent mind damage? But no, Picard is straight back in the command chair, as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, it's definitely episodic in that nature because, and through the whole thing, Patrick Stewart just shows how much pain he is in from these headaches. And it's interesting to note that it's like, well, headaches don't occur anymore, like the common cold. It's gone. So why is he having a headache? That was, a big clue that something was wrong. And you're right, this device, there's actually two devices, one on the Stargazer and then one that is brought into his quarters. So there's two of them.
Yeah, okay.
And, and Damon Bach, man, he's just turning that thing, increasing its amplitude or whatever. And he wants...
Good physics word.
It's math, yes.
Us both.
Yeah.
We'd use it. Yeah.
But just really trying to inflict pain. And another thing I found interesting was like when they were like, the Battle of Maxima. And it's like, what is Maxia? What is that? I don't know that battle. So the perspective of how Damon is like, he lost his son in this major battle. And it was just like two ships fighting each other.
Yeah, it wasn't historically important to either side, but to the people involved, it obviously had a huge impact. That's a really good point. Do you think it did have a lasting effect? Interestingly, before you answer that, I always get this episode mixed up with another later TNG episode. And I don't know if I've made it up or not, but I've got a memory of the Ferengi bringing Picard's son on board.
Yeah, that's a season 7 one where they reference it back.
Okay. I think they have... It's a TNG episode with Ferengi, so I think having not seen them in a long time, you conflate details or make them up as is my case.
Yeah, they talk about it. They refer back to it in... so it's revisited in the 7th season episode Bloodlines.
Ah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I get those two episodes mixed up, so the details are kind of smooshed together.
Yeah, I don't know that. I would assume that there would be some major side effects of reliving that and having those very painful headaches. Seems like he goes through physically with those headaches and those memories and reliving it. And then to find out that the confession was made. And so it's like, did I do that? Oh no, it was altered. And, so just sort of those things. But yeah, it doesn't seem to faze him at all until season 7 when it comes back.
I suppose you could argue that they're in the future, so any physical damage to his brain from this machine and the constant exposure to whatever it was doing to him could be fixed. Dr. Crusher, she becomes the chief of Starfleet Medical for a while, so she's going to be able to fix it. In terms of the psychological trauma, who we've got to fix that? Troy is going to be right there. And he's the pinnacle of what Starfleet has to offer. So he's going to be really resilient to whatever kind of space throws at him. So I think all these things are going to help him to very quickly get back on his feet. And the other thing that occurred to me is that a lot of the time when you're getting over an attack of any kind, or like say, think about it in an education setting. Why did a pupil behave badly, or why did they call you a name, or say in the very extreme circumstances, why did a pupil attack you or attack another pupil? Sometimes you dwell on it for a very long time because you don't know why or the reasons behind it. And then I think it's easier to get over if you understand the reasoning behind it. So I think Picard, maybe being as measured as he is, looked at the reasons that the Daemon did it and thought, right, okay, it was for revenge, it was because of the Battle of Maxia, his son died, so I allowed him to take all the little jigsaw pieces and piece them together in his mind and think, right, okay, I understand that my therapy is working with Troy, the brain damage has been fixed by Crusher, I am actually okay, and I understand why it happened.
That is a very good point, because it's more it's more torturous when you don't understand. Yeah, so great point. Yeah.
You'll have sleepless nights. I know I've had sleepless nights over educational things, like pupils being really badly behaved and I've had to have them removed from class, and why did they do that? And then maybe a few weeks later you learn some detail about how horrific their life is, and it just puts it into a little bit of perspective for you. And you go, right, I can forgive anything that they did because you know what they're going home to. So it's easy.
Well, let's move on to Sarek. This is season 3, episode 23. And again, I really thought Sarek was a season 4 or season 5. And I'm searching to try and find it. And I'm like, where in the heck is this? And it's season 3. So this is the one where Sarek comes on board and he is going to do a negotiation with the Lagosians, and only he can do it, but he's going through, because of his old age, having some, do you remember is it called something?
It'll be called something syndrome, won't it?
Yes, something syndrome.
Bendii
syndrome? Yeah, that sounds about right.
Bendii syndrome, yeah.
Yes, Bendii. And so the negative emotions are being deflected onto the crew, and they're breaking out in fights, have a wonderful bar fight in 10 Forward. And to help Sarek control that, Picard steps up and says, well, I will do a mind meld and help you I'll take on the negative emotions while you can focus on the Lagosians while you're negotiating with them. And I love this episode, the amount that Patrick Stewart emotes from all of these emotions, from crying and anger and confusion. And I love that Beverly is there with him while he's in the mind meld. She's able to sort of snap him out sometimes and just to help him to survive this. It's a brilliant episode, and how the shot where it just goes around him, and it's beautiful. The thing that I found with this one is that this Picard made the choice to have this mind meld, whereas in like the battle, there was no choice. It was forced on him.
Yeah, which made me think, are we talking about attacks? But is it still an attack if I bring it on myself?
Well,
you could argue, if I could ask you to punch me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could punch me really hard and break my nose. It's still an attack, even though I've asked for it. I want to say something about TNG in general. I really like this episode because of the classical music. Like, that's one thing about TNG specifically, is I was classically trained as a kid. And I loved Star Trek. So when the two came together, it just made it all the more magical. I'm thinking this episode, like a Data with his kind of studying classical music, thinking the episode Lessons with Nella Darren. It just makes music come alive. So I really like that. But also see the bar fight scene, or the effect that Sarek has on the crew. It totally reminds me of The Perfect Mate. And when she has this effect on the men around the ship and they all start fighting over her. But also the way Lwaxana, when she's going through the menopause, and I think it's in a Deep Space Nine episode, and she's right at the height of the menopause and they all start fighting over each other or acting in really inappropriately lusty ways. Was it Jake Sisko is trying to get it on with Dax or something, isn't he? It's just really awkward. But it's another example of when the telepathic mind goes wrong and starts to affect the people around you.
You know, what I was thinking of was Man of the People. You remember that episode where the guy came on with the old woman who was his partner, quote unquote, and he transfers all of the negative emotions and it ends up happening to Troy and Troy ages, but he does that to get rid of those negative emotions.
It's still a mind attack, isn't it? It's just really evil.
Well, and I think to your point, when you were saying, like, you know, if I ask you to punch me, you can agree, but you're not going to know the force that you're getting hit with. And I think Picard truly did not understand the force and the major emotions that Vulcans have. So he may have agreed to it, but I don't think he understood its intensity.
I take your point. However, if I ask you specifically to punch me, I'm going to have a good idea about the force.
Whatever. I go to the gym. Thank you very much.
Smash my face in. Listeners, just to know, Amy just showed me her guns.
That's right.
Supremely impressive. It's funny. But let's get back to talking about the effect that this has on Picard. I know you'd mentioned it. Patrick Stewart acts this supremely well. And it I was reminded of it watching the first episode, the Discovery, season 3, where we see Sonequa Martin Green show like a whole plethora of different acting styles. And she just acts the hell out of that episode. And she pretty much single-handedly, well, I suppose, with David
Ajala.
With David Ajala, they both kind of just run the show together. So it's really impressive. But Patrick Stewart, being the amazing Shakespeareanly trained actor that we know, is just so powerful in this episode. The way he switches, like you said, from being like overcome with the most horrific grief that like a Vulcan could imagine, to being in the fits of rage, of anger, to the next thing.
To his love for Perrin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I was scared for Crusher at some points, because with all his human restraint, he could have just turned and kind of smacked her one, just because that's what the emotions and Sarek's memories were doing to him. So yeah, really, really powerful. But again, with it being episodic TV, it doesn't have a lasting effect. And I think you
don't know about that.
Well, I suppose we see it again in Unification.
I think it helps change Picard more so than obviously the battle, because I feel like now, because of this experience, he totally understands Vulcan. And like you said, we see it again in Unification. And I'm almost feeling like it has some effect in the new Picard show, which I know you don't enjoy, but I think that he just understands Vulcan so much more because of this.
I think you might be right, actually. I think I'm just maybe a bit too hung up on the fact that it's episodic TV, so the episode that directly succeeds this episode is like just back to normal.
Yeah.
But obviously, we get it again in Unification, how he was deeply moved by this link that he had with Sarek, and he got to share that with Spock after Sarek had sadly passed away. So yeah, while it's not has a kind of a continuous effect, it's changed him as a man. That's a really good point.
Well, with Inner Light, season 5, episode 25, reminder,
Amy,
listeners.
let's skip. No, do we have to? Seriously, if listeners don't know about the inner light, there's something wrong with them. Seriously.
So I feel like this one doesn't have any negative effects, but I still count it as a mind attack because Picard did not agree, sign any waiver. Okay, let me experience this, that this probe comes in and specifically attacks him.
You know that has to altered the entire structure of his brain. He's now the host of a whole lifetime's worth of memories of an alien species, and he lives with that every day. I know we see the effect that has on him later on in season 5 with lessons, and he shares his Reskin flute with Nella Darren. So we know it's had an extremely profound effect on him. It has to. But again, with it being episodic, we don't see it from episode to episode.
Yeah, I think the effect, like you said, he lives this entire lifetime. He did get the opportunity to be a family man, married with 2 kids, grandchildren. So we're grateful that he gets that in an alternate life and has those memories that seem so real, but yet they aren't real.
Are they not real? They are real because they happen to a real person on that planet all that time ago.
Yeah, but not Picard.
And they've been transplanted. Is a transplanted memory the same as an actual memory? No. Well, is it not because you make up memories? Oh, I know I've made up memories. That way, when you look at a picture from your childhood,
yes.
It's very familiar to you, but your brain just naturally makes up the scenario that goes around that picture, and it's not a memory. It's a construct. It's something your brain has come up with in order to understand the visual input that's come from that picture.
But all of the memories from Sarek, those are Sarek's.
But do those not go away once he reverses the mind meld? Does Sarek not take the pain and the hatred and all the emotions? Sarek removes them from Picard.
I think the feeling of direct feeling of it, but when at unification, he shares those thoughts with Spock. So they're not removed from his brain.
It's interesting. Is maybe the experience that he has with Sarek something like living in a nightmare? Do you mean you're like being in the nightmare is terrifying, and you feel all those emotions, and you wake up in a cold sweat. But after it, the memory of having the nightmare isn't half as terrifying as living with it.
Right.
So it could be like that. It's like the echo.
Yes.
The echo of the voice.
I love Nemesis.
Did I just quote Shinzon of Remus?
My influence. I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely like whatever Sarek put inside Picard's brain was removed, but left a trace that Picard can still kind of almost experience or feel that, yeah, he felt how angry he was or how sad he was or how in love with Perrin he was, and he could give Spock access to that. But whether it had the same amplitude, to use that word again, we don't know. So yeah, it comes back to the fact that is that transplanted memory that Picard gets in the inner light, is it the same as a real memory? And does it maybe explain away why Picard never married and had a family in the future? Yes, he did he? He married Crusher, but that was an alternate Q timeline. Mm-hmm. So he never got married.
Nope.
In the Prime timeline. But did he not get married because he was still in love with his inner light wife? And he had the memories of having his inner light children, which turns out are his real children in real life.
Oh, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Is it David Stewart? Yeah. Played his son in The Inner Light. So yeah, did that satisfy his need to have a family? Because he just had those. But how horrific would that be? Having the knowledge that your family are long dead.
Yeah.
But like waking up in the future.
See, but again, I think Picard, because of his training and experience, and he's the best of the best, like he's able to overcome that. It's like, okay, that was just a memory that was implanted, constructed. It's not mine. So is able to not have such major ramifications that I think if like I were to experience something like that, I'd be a freaking mess and be in therapy for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, I would join you. But like other memories, like the skill of playing the Reskin flute, that wasn't just a memory to be compartmentalized. It was an active part of who he was as Picard. So what other part? I'm sorry, I cannot remember his character's name in The Inner Light.
You're going to say it and I'm going to say
it's on the planet Catan.
Yes.
Cayman.
Yes.
Cayman. Obviously. So we're kicking ourselves now. Like the Reskin flute part of Cayman became very much part of Picard. So what other parts of Cayman became part of Picard as well?
You know, I like to think because of his major focus with astronomy while he was there and building, I think all of that transfers into his skill. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That would be a good short trek.
It would be a good short trek where Picard seeks out the Nexus again to go back in time to the planet Catan and go and meet Cayman, who he once lived as in the future. oh, bakes my brain.
Well, let's talk about Attached. This is the one where Beverly and Picard are taken. They're trying to decide if these one people, I'm so sorry. I did watch the episode, listeners, but if they are ready to join the Federation. And as they beam down, they are taken prisoner by an opposing side and have these implants on the back of their neck that makes them able to hear each other's thoughts. And this is such a fun episode. And I love at the beginning where Beverly's like, you said that? And Picard's like, no, I didn't say it. I thought it, you know, or he would be like, you said that? I thought it. And it's something that I've had to train myself to not blurt out everything that comes through my mind, you know. It's such a fun episode.
No, it is. I was looking for the name of the planet. It's the Kess and the Prit.
Yes.
And the planet's Kesprit.
Yes.
But obviously they are...
Prit, yeah.
Yeah, they're very divergent kind of peoples on the one planet. They're the same species, but one's isolationist and one is more outgoing and wants to join the Federation.
Yeah, but they're both so paranoid. They give the Romulans a run for their money.
Are they paranoid in the same way America and Russia were really paranoid of each other in the Cold War?
Cold War, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just very annoying, and I get that at the end they don't get to join the Federation because they're kind of almost equally as xenophobic as the other, and they're not ready as a species to kind of let their differences go and become one kind of joined planet, joined Earth, if you will. And what I liked about this episode, they mention a united Earth government in 2150, which is 30 years from now.
Yes,
and they also
I put
mentioned
that down in my notes too.
Yeah, Australia.
Yes,
almost refused to join this united Earth government. How amazing would Earth be if it was a united Earth? Yeah, countries would still exist, but they would almost have like local, regional governments, but we'd all be in this together. And I think a lot of people just don't realise that we're all human. We're all just trying to get on with our lives. There's no space for hatred or xenophobia or hating that person because they have a different skin colour or gender or sexual orientation or whatever other of the many things can be different amongst humans. I know we're a long way away from it, especially now in 2020, but it's something to really aspire to. I really like this episode. I love the exchanges between Picard and Crusher. And it just makes me think about how much we filter ourselves. Like when we think things. You know me, Amy, you've met me. You know how much I push the limits of appropriateness with people. And I intentionally say provocative things, but it's not in a way. Sometimes I can have my serious side and I can have my comedian frivolous side. So when I'm being my comedian, usually at the Masquerade Bar at STLV, I'll say things that are naturally provocative, but it's always with the intent to make people laugh. Mm-hmm. Okay. But similarly, I'll ask very provocative questions of people that are really intended to seek knowledge and understanding for myself. Because I know I ask uncomfortable questions all the time, but it's really because I want to understand where somebody's at about their feelings about where they are in the world. So I know, but I noticed last week in a Zoom call that we were both in, I made the comment that in the first episode of season 3 of Discovery, I noticed there weren't any white characters. And since rewatching it, there is one or two that are in it ever so briefly. And it wasn't, I think if you didn't know me, you might think, oh, that's kind of racist, as if I'm not agreeing with the fact that there's not any white people in Discovery. Why they're always kind of black or coloured aliens in it. And it wasn't, it was just an observation, and it made me think about, was that an intentional thing they did? Was it a consequence or not a side effect, but was it because of the Black Lives Matter movement? Did they make a conscious decision to, let's make this more ethnically diverse? It's like we see the scene where they go to the sanctuary and it's all kind of people of non-white ethnicities that make up all of the people we see in the sanctuary. So I'm kind of lost the train of thought now. Bringing it back to what I was talking about in terms of how much we filter ourselves, because I live on that line of kind of saying things that might be controversial, but always trying to keep it appropriate and keep myself safe from kind of ridicule or accusation, then I think my brain naturally very quickly has to filter what I'm thinking. And I think in the episode attached, there is no filter. What you think just gets transferred to the person you're attached to, which is really, if you were me, it would be really dangerous.
Very scary. I'm just really glad my students aren't attached, because they would get my continual eye rolls and are you stupid? But that's all in my brain.
We're allowed to think it. We're not allowed to
say it.
Verbalize it. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. It would get you into a lot of trouble.
It definitely would. And I almost wish that this episode would have come a little earlier than season 7, because the interplay that they have between Crusher and Picard is so beautiful, and how they end it is just perfect, with Crusher saying, well, let's just leave things the way they are, and Picard wanting to maybe go the next step. Like, that could have been explored so much more. But with this happening...
If it was earlier, yeah.
Yeah. But this happening in season 7 just makes all good things that much even more enjoyable, because that alternate timeline where Crusher and Picard do get married.
That's true. And I think as fans, when we see the end of Attached, everybody wants it to go that to that next level. We want to see Picard and Crusher finding love again. And it doesn't quite go there, but it goes far enough that we're kind of satisfied.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, in All Good Things, we see it, obviously at some point it did go there in this alternate future, but it didn't work out as they hoped.
You know, I was thinking about that and talking about inner light and how you were saying maybe this is why with his life in the inner light, Catan, that he didn't marry because of his love for his wife there on Catan. But then I'm almost wondering, because he's had such a long, lengthy love of Beverly in all of its forms, friendship, having an initial attraction, like his relationship with Beverly is so complex and on so many different levels that maybe this attached experience just said, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy with my love with Beverly. I don't need to find someone else.
Is that enough though? If you're that close to someone, I don't know if it would be enough for me to go that next level, to be intimate with someone. I think is the next level. And I think that's a natural progression. Because right now they're just friends, aren't they?
Depending, I guess, on how you read their breakfast together.
But they're family at that point, and that's it, aren't they?
But she learns of this new admiration and love that he's had for her for so many years.
Because this unrequited love, which he couldn't kind of make public to her.
Yeah.
It just makes it all the more painful, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And it's so beautiful.
You just want it to go. Yeah, you just want it to go, and then for them to embrace each other in a passionate kiss, and then it fade to black, and you know it's gone there, and they've...
Yes.
I would say they've done it, but I don't mean that. They've finally made it to where we want them to be.
Well, right. And I think that level of intimacy, I mean, not that it's all sexual, but that intimacy that they can share between each other.
But I think when we talk about intimacy that way, there's obviously going to be the sexual aspect, but there's
it's like deeper.
Sex with a stranger is good, but sex with somebody you really know is much better.
Yeah.
Do you mean there's a deeper level of intimacy there? I'm sure we're allowed to talk about sex because we're doing it sensitively, aren't we? It's a completely different ball game, so to speak.
Stop,
I know. I'm still trying to keep it kind of PG-13. But yeah, you get the idea. It's completely different. It would be, you know what I mean. I'm not going to continue.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, Joe, final thoughts on these mind attacks, for lack of a better word. What do you think about these episodes and the effect that it has on Picard as a character?
So I think we've picked some really good episodes which highlight different types of attacks. I think we've made the decision, having watched them, that the attacks that have a negative effect don't have a long-lasting impact. The episodes like the battle that have a negative impact on him and potentially damage his brain in some way don't have a long-lasting effect because it doesn't suit the character. But the positive impacts of Sarek, the inner light, and the attached, I think that they can only serve to improve the human that is Jean-Luc Picard and make him better and make him stronger, make him more resilient and fulfill his life in more ways. So definitely interesting picks. Yeah, but I think it's interesting that we've chosen the positive ones and allowed them to kind of continue into Picard's life, but like the battle had a negative effect, so that gets kind of sidelined in some way.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. I hadn't thought about that until you said that. And they do inform us about Picard. And like you said, the inner lie, attached, Sarek, those are more on the positive side, even though we do get reference to the battle in season 7 with Bloodlines, but it doesn't seem to inform us about Picard's character overall. And it's super interesting. I think this at the beginning of our discussion, like looking over the different captains, I think Cisco probably comes close, maybe even more. I don't know. But this is a TNG podcast. So Picard definitely has positive experiences. And I, of course, couldn't think about this topic without thinking about all of the mind attacks on Troy. All the attacks on Troy were always negative. And it's interesting, and I just wonder, did the writers intentionally do this? Or is this just a side effect because of her empathic ability, that it's always going to be negative? Because there's not one positive experience that Troy has, where here, Sarek, I think overall we would agree that it's positive, and the inner light and attached, that those are positive mind attacks, and Troy doesn't get any. And so it's just a little frustrating that we do see mind attacks on multiple characters. So it's not always directed at Troy, but hers are the negative ones. So that's a bummer.
The only one I could think of for Troy, and it's not really a mind attack, it's an attack on her whole body, is the child. And then she's left with this message. I suppose the mind attack part of it is where the entity that impregnated her leaves her with some kind of message to say, it's okay, thank you for the experience, I'm bye now. Then
that's true.
And ghosts her.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a horrific thing for her to go through, but it leaves her feeling positive about it in some way.
Yes.
I think.
I agree. Thank you for correcting me there.
But no, I think you're right. And it made me think about what I said at the beginning of the episode, that with the Ferengi in Menage a Troy, how inappropriate their behaviour is, having Loaxana perform essentially a sexual act on them. And you just now said that when we see it happen to Troy, it's more negative. But I think we've decided that when it happens to Picard, it seems to have more of a positive effect. Is that because did they portray men as being stronger and women as being weaker? Or dare I say, it's okay to attack a woman and it's not okay to attack a man? Am I going down the wrong path here?
Well, it was interesting to say that it's stronger, because I would argue that with Troy, with all of hers being negative outside of the child, that she is stronger because she overcame those. Mm-hmm. Like that strengthens her.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah.
But I think to your second point that, it's a commentary on women getting attacked.
But it doesn't do anything to say it's not okay necessarily. It just seems to normalise it. Oh, this is territory that I've never talked about before, and certainly that it's never occurred to me when I've been watching TNG.
Mm-hmm. It is a fine line when you see it, and then to your point, like, well, is it normalizing because I see it, or is it informing me how bad it is and that I don't want to see this happen?
Yeah, no, you could be right.
You're balancing on the edge of a knife there, a double-edged sword.
No, you're totally right. I think my train of thought just now is to think the negative. I think I'm looking at a couple of data points and making a conclusion which isn't necessarily correct. I think I have to maybe give it more thought. And I think you're quite right in saying that it could be the other way, to show that these things are not okay and shouldn't be happening, but highlighting that they do happen as a social commentary. That's a good point. I'm not going to sleep tonight for thinking about this.
Incoming transmission.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show and hope you'll join our Facebook group, Federation Council Chambers. You're welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email the network at contact@ufp.earth, and we might read your email on the show.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. That way you won't miss any of our fine shows like All Good Things, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, General Quarters, Mickey's Marvels, Infinite Diversity, and Trek Pod. So Joe, what section of the ship can you be found while counting 4 lights? Or was it 5?
Amy, I have no idea. Yeah, literally, that way your memory kind of plays tricks on you, and I'm not quite sure how many lights. There could have been 20 lights,
I know.
for all I know. But when I'm not trying to count lights, then you can find me on the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook. You can tweet me on the Twitter at JoeyJoe77UK, or you can email me in that long ago used email address of mine, joepodcasts@gmail.com. And Amy, where can people find you when you're creeping about the ship trying to mind attack people?
Well,
I know, just for reference, I know Amy's the least likely person out of all humans to do that.
if I did mind attack, it would only be to persuade you to come to STLV.
That'd be your like nefarious superpower, wouldn't
Yes.
it? You will come to STLV.
Yes.
You will come to STLV. We should, do you know what? See, when you're editing this podcast, Amy, you should put a subliminal audio line. Come to STLV. Come to STLV.
Okay.
Just like on a subconscious frequency.
Yes.
I don't know how you do that in Audition, but I'm sure there is a way.
Yes.
Make it so.
Well, you can find me here on the network where I host All Good Things with Ken Tripp and Pat Devlin. I am starting to talk Discovery on the Union Federation podcast. So that's real fun. You can check out my thoughts there. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and I, of course, am in our Federation Council chambers on Facebook.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFP Earth. That's patreon.com/UFP Earth to get all the details. We have 4 different levels starting at just $1 per month and would appreciate any support you can give us.
We would like to thank our executive producers, Brandon Chimutala, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. We'd also like to thank Zach Tripp for our opening and closing music, and Tony Robinson for our amazing artwork.
Thank you for beaming aboard the Galaxy class, and until next time.
Seize the time, Meribor, live now. Make now always the most precious time. Now will never come again.
And I'm going back to it. Great joy and gratitude.
Yes.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.